Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and this is my performance review of the Peak New Attitude, and this is basically kind of like Andrew Wiggins' shoe, right? He does wear this, he signed with Peak. It's going for 150 bucks, but there's actually one colorway going for 130 bucks. It depends on the colorway, which is pretty weird, but 150 bucks is quite expensive for Peak. You know, Peak usually gives us like shoes that are around like 110, 120 bucks, but they are giving us very good tech in this shoe. If you guys do want to cop, I'll leave a link in the description box, but let's get it started off with the Tracciones. In this colorway, we have a fully translucent outsole, as you guys can see, and we have a chaotic herringbone traction pattern. So how does the traction perform? So if you're playing on a clean court, holy crap guys, the bite is really good. You're gonna stop on a dime, it feels like you're playing on glue, all that good stuff. It has top tier traction. Also, it's very loud. The squeak is extremely loud and very high pitched. So it gets a little annoying, honestly. It's really loud. It reminds me of the Jordan 31 actually. So I know some people that hate that, and some people that actually like that. I don't know, I'm somewhere in between. I feel like it's a little too loud for me personally. As far as the traction on dust though, so if you're playing on a dusty setting, you're gonna have to wipe a lot, right? And I would also say it's pretty inconsistent. So some days I would have a very good bite, and some days it was just not biting very well, right? So for example, when I did wipe, I would have a good stop, right? Just because I'm wiping off the dust. But in some cases, even if I did wipe and I did a very hard kind of stop, doing like a cut or a crossover or step back or whatever, I would still slide out, like it would feel a little dangerous even, right? So if you're playing on a dusty court, just be careful on that. It picks up dust pretty quickly too. I would say every like 2 to 3 plays, which is kind of annoying, but the wipe is very easy. It's just like a very easy 1 or 2 wipes and you're good to go. But just keep in mind that inconsistency, right? And also, like I said, if you're doing very hard stops on a dusty court, you can slide out even after you wiped. So just be careful on that. And as far as durability goes, you should be fine. The grooves are very thick and also very deep, and the rubber is super hard. So if you're playing on an outdoor court, you should be okay. Here in the middle of the outsole, also we have a carbon fiber midfoot chain plate, which is a very nice premium touch. So that definitely does kind of like justify the higher price tag of the shoe. And now moving on to the heel to toe transition, it's very smooth, right? So here in the heel, we have a nice curved shape and also a very exposed midsole, which I like. It looks like Boost, you know, which it isn't, but we'll get into that. And then here in the forefoot, we have a nice curved shape and a good amount of forefoot flex, actually. Look at that. Right, but we still have good torsional support because of this carbon fiber midfoot chain plate. So heel to toe transition overall is very smooth, even when you're doing heel dominant strides down the court. Alright, moving on to the cushioning setup. So we got P pop-up. So it says P pop-up right here. It looks like Boost, but it's Peak's kind of own proprietary like foam. They actually did R&D, and it's their foam. I actually thought it was BASF that probably made it for them, but on their site it says it's their own foam, which is pretty interesting just because Adidas doesn't own Boost. BASF does. They just partner with BASF, and also same thing with Puma, right? But anyways, how does the P pop-up feel? It actually feels really nice. I love it. If you guys can see, it looks really thick, right? But it's actually kind of like it kind of comes up on the side, right? So you're actually not sitting on top of all of this foam. I would say your foot is probably around right here. But anyways, there's a good amount of compression here in the heel from the midsole, which feels nice and soft. I would say it feels a little bit more firm than Boost though, which isn't a bad thing just because Boost can feel a little mushy sometimes, you know? So a little bit firmer actually I like, especially for basketball. Also, the step and comfort is really nice. So the insole still feels really good, right? We have a pretty nice, it feels kind of like an Ortholite insole, but underneath that, if you feel the stroller board, I actually don't really know how this works because I'm like feeling the stroller board and it feels kind of stiff, right? But when I'm playing it, especially like when I'm sprinting and running around, I can definitely feel the midsole underneath my foot. And there's a good kind of like subtle compression and bounce from the P pop-up midsole, and it feels really nice, especially for like that cushion underneath your foot, like step-in comfort. So that felt great. Court feel also is pretty damn nice. Here in the forefoot, it feels low to the ground, and not the best, especially comparing it to like the Hardens, but it's still good court feel. And then here in the heel, it gets a little bit higher up off the ground, but like I said, it's still not terrible. So impact protection is great. There's a nice little bounce from the midsole and also from the cushion underneath your foot. You have good responsiveness too. It's not too soft or too mushy or anything. And overall, I really liked the cushioning setup. It's comfortable yet responsive, which I feel like is a great combination. All right, moving on to the material. So we have mono net fabric, which you can see right here. Right, that's the mono net fabric, and here on the medial side, it's also here in the toe box, but it's covered by this shroud, and it's made of like this jersey material, which looks awesome. And then we can also see the Peak logo as well. So how does it feel? It feels pretty damn nice, right? So it gives good support, and at first it feels a little stiff, but it breaks in nicely. But now it's very comfortable and conforms to my foot very well. It's connected here on the medial side by this like elastic band, which is a pretty interesting design. But overall here in the toe box, this shroud definitely does add a little bit of thickness to the material, but it's not super thick. And I definitely do feel like it does add support. So there's that. And then here in the midfoot, it's actually really thin. And then as far as the tongue goes, the tongue is really thin as well. There's no padding. Look at that. It's just an extremely thin material. And also on the bottom of the tongue here, there's no padding either, which is good for like a minimal feel. But in my personal preference, I like to have a little bit of foam in my tongue, you know what I mean? It's also a half booty construction tongue. And then here in the ankle area, there is pretty minimal padding on the sides of the ankle, but here at the back of the heel, there is, I would say, like an average amount of padding, right? So overall, it's a pretty minimal feeling material, but also very supportive. Like it doesn't stretch at all. Like this mono fabric, it has a lot of synthetic overlays as well. I definitely feel like they could have improved the quality of like the synthetic material here on the like ankle area, especially for 150 bucks, right? And also it says Andrew Wiggins here in the back. Probably his number, I'm not 100% sure. Is that his number? Probably is, right? So the quality I feel like definitely could be a little bit better, but overall it feels nice on foot. All right, moving on to the fit, I went true to size and it fits me okay, right? It runs a little long actually. So I would say there's a good 1.5 centimeters to 2 centimeters of length, which I wouldn't say is really annoying for me, but it definitely did kind of bother me a little bit. I definitely wish I went down half a size. So for you guys, I would suggest going down half a size. And also for the width, I would say it runs a little wide. As you guys can see, it gets pretty wide here. And then here in the toe box, it's a little roomy too. So if you have a wide foot, I'll suggest going probably just true to size, or maybe up half a size. But if you want a snug fit, right, I would suggest going down half a size. All right, moving on to the support and lockdown. I had no issues with lateral containment, right? So we have actually no sidewall, right, acting as a lateral counter, you know, nothing coming up like the midsole or anything, but this material is quite supportive, right? Especially, I feel like this shroud material adds a lot to the support. So I had no issues with my forefoot coming out of the footbed. Here in the heel, we have the foam coming up and we have an internal TPU heel counter. So lateral containment is good in the shoe. Also, lateral stability is great, right? As you guys can see, look at this. It's a crazy sharp outrigger. It's a very wide base and you're low to the ground. So lateral stability is great in the shoe as well. So even if you're a bigger dude, I feel like you should be fine for support. All right, moving on to the weight of the shoe. If I remember correctly, it's like around like 13 ounces? 12.98 ounces. So basically 13 ounces. Let's check the other pair. 12.8 ounces. So it's almost 13 ounces, or around average weight, right? You know, it's a little bit heavier than average weight for my shoes. So how does this shoe feel? It feels very responsive and I really enjoyed playing in it, right? It's a very supportive shoe as well. I just didn't really like how I would slide out pretty dangerously on like a dusty setting, even if I did wipe. So that was kind of annoying, but other than that, I like the overall feeling of the shoe. All right, moving on to the ventilation. Ventilation is actually pretty good. So as you guys can see through this mono net, this is actually like pretty much, there's a lot of ventilation through this, and also this like jersey material. So I would say ventilation is pretty damn good in the shoe. All right, moving on to the aesthetics. I like it, you know, this colorway looks great. And the overall silhouette looks awesome as well. Like I've never really seen like this jersey material used on like a basketball shoe or like any shoe in general. I just can't really think of any shoes right now, right? So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, this shoe is really, really nice. And I feel like most people in most play styles would benefit from the shoe. You know, it's a very responsive shoe. It's not too heavy. It's not super light either, but it's a responsive shoe. Cushion also is great. Like great impact protection. Is soft. But not too soft and not too mushy. You know, there's a nice little subtle bounce back, but also has great court feel, and it's responsive. Material is super supportive, but also like pretty thin. It's not the thinnest material, but it feels great on foot. There's no pinching or anything, but also it's a very supportive shoe as well. So if you're a bigger guy and you want cushion, but also you like a lighter shoe, this is a great option. If you're a guard and you want a responsive shoe, but you need a little bit of cushion, then also this shoe is a great option. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time with the shoe. The only thing that I could really think of that I didn't like is the performance on dust. That's about it. But like I said, it was more just inconsistent. I had some bad days and I had some good days. Like it wasn't something that I absolutely hated. But anyways, that about concludes my review of the Peak New Attitude. Again, if you guys do want to cop, I'll leave a link in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.